Talktainment Radio Worldwide Sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
This is The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
Good morning and welcome to TalkTainmentRadio.com. This is the world's greatest radio, and you are in touch with the compensatory concept. I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby. Along with me is Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and this is radio the way it should be heard. All over the world, wherever you are listening, we are grateful and thankful that you took the time to tune in. And again, we thank you very much on Talktainment Radio the way it should be heard. If you would like to get in contact with the show, you may do so by calling 1-877-932-9766. And we will try to get you on as soon as we can. Or you can get in contact with the show by this one, by Gmail. 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will try to get your message on, thought or comment. If you do, make sure you make it brief and go ahead and ask your question so that Mr. Fuller can address it. Now let me introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., live from Washington, D.C. Good morning, Mr. Fuller, and how are you this morning?
Good morning, and I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay, I want to start off with a question. I thought I would get that Atlanta question in, but let me do this. Let's see. What's this person's name? Okay. Richie asked this, Mr. Bobby, I listened to your show featuring Mr. Neely Fuller. Well, first of all, it's Neely Fuller's show. I'm just a co-host. But anyway, I listened to your show featuring Mr. Fuller. Wow. It blows my mind that people believe that this guy's books will somehow solve the hate problems, not race problems of the world. White supremacy, not just supremacy by the wealthiest people, white, black, etc. This guy taps into your subconscious and have you feeling helpless and not able to fend for yourself. If anyone hates you, they hate you. Nothing you can say will change that. And that's the way that it is. Overall, I do not believe this guy is pro-black at all. He gives off subliminal messages that will keep you captive. Just my opinion. Don't believe the hype. Mr. Fuller, will you address that, please?
Well, he didn't ask a question.
No.
But what I present, I say that there is a race problem, and what I present is just some suggestions for the average person who believes that there is a race problem, and that person believes that he or she is a victim of that race problem, and I make some suggestions. They may be feeble suggestions. They may be suggestions that don't make sense. They may be suggestions that the person, when they hear the suggestions, they say, I can't use that. Some people have said that. And so they say that they have a race problem, and it affects them, and they want to do something about it. And all Neely Fuller is doing is just saying there is a race problem, and he believes there is a race problem called white supremacy, meaning mistreating people based on color. He believes that people can be mistreated based on color, and all Neely Fuller does is this: he's written a book making a few suggestions, not all the suggestions, because I don't even know what all the suggestions would be. If I did, we wouldn't be having the problem, because all of my suggestions would have worked by now. So therefore, these are just suggestions in trying to solve the race problem.
Mm-hmm.
What many people, including myself, believes is the biggest problem on the planet. Now, that might not even be true. So the gentleman, whomever he is, said a number of things, but if he believes that everything is fraudulent, maybe he believes that there is no race problem. He didn't say that. He says that he does say some things about my approach to it. So that is even covered in my book, the textbook for victim white supremacy, in the Word Guide. And I'll say more about it in the updated version of the basic book. And that will be about the compensatory logic, what I call compensatory logic use of you can say anything about race, racism, or counter-racism that you want to say, and it is valid. And you can critique anybody else's sayings about it if we're talking about race and race problems. So what the gentleman said should be listened to.
Yes.
And that's another thing that's different that I try to do. I mean, I think he made some remarks about whatever this fellow's doing, meaning me.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's questionable, which it is. Everybody is questionable when it comes to solving problems.
Right.
You're supposed to ask every possible question there is. Everybody's supposed to do that. Question Neely Fuller. Question anybody who's saying anything about a problem that will hopefully lead to the problem being solved.
Yes.
And that way, anybody who's trying to commit a fraud or something like that, or trying to run a scam or whatever, that will come to the surface if you ask enough questions.
It sure will.
And that includes me.
I wanted to present this question because a lot of times people think that this is just a rah-rah situation, but I wanted to get a point that there are some people that don't believe that there is a problem of racism in this country. Now, I don't know how they could arrive at that conclusion, but I support their right to say that they don't believe that there is. But then at the same time, as they say it, I would like to, and he didn't, have some evidence of his opinion, to support his opinion, some documentation, some data or something that I can go over and look at it. But he didn't do that. He just simply gave his opinion, and I wrote him back and told him that I would have you address that, and I am so happy that you did. Okay, finishing up last week's business, a lady wrote me, I guess her name is Nikita, I believe she's in Atlanta, and she said, I heard the first caller of last week's show and wanted to write in because I am in a similar situation. I had my first child 3 years ago, and like her, my eyes have been open. They were open before, but now that I have another life I'm responsible for, I see now it is my responsibility, not choice, to do my part to further the move towards justice, because even after I'm long and gone, my daughter, along with all other young ones in this new generation, will be here having to deal with this, and perhaps her children and their children. I admit the thought of it makes me absolutely exhausted, mainly because, like the first caller, I am married to someone who thinks I am too serious as well, and thinks that about the issue of racism, that I think about that way too much. I have little to no friends because of the same situation when I try to have any other furthering conversations. about the matter. I believe this lady is from another country. No one wants to talk about it. My husband and I used to live in Asia and Africa a few years before having children, and the racism was apparent even there. Now that I am a mother, I realize I cannot afford to just be content with the state of my affairs. My husband, however, has blatantly stated that he is not willing to do anything. In the middle of our daughter, who stays at home with me all day and is already showing signs of being affected by this system of racism, though I thought I was protecting her from it all this time. I see I cannot protect her, but only arm her and guide her accordingly. My question is, how do I begin to accomplish this with my 3-year-old, something I am fully committed to when my husband is comfortable with life as it is? On a grander scale, I do not slip into depression about the reality that I have birthed my child into. But she's asking, my question is, how do I begin to accomplish this with my 3-year-old?
Oh, that's the question.
Well,
okay.
yeah.
The answer, according to what I've written, is any person of any age, when they start asking questions about something that happens or something that's on their minds, that's when you start giving them the answers. People are always ready for answers when they raise a question. And so once they raise a question, then you start giving them the answers to the question.
Even though her husband is against it?
Well, in order to get coordination there and minimize conflict, you will have him or her, meaning the child, ask the questions to him. Say, oh, look, I have a problem, if it is in the form of a problem. Because most people start asking questions usually when they have a dilemma of some type.
Yes, sir.
I mean, it's something they're trying to figure out, something they're trying to work through. It might be something very simple, or it might be something very, very serious. So that's what I do.
Yes,
If something comes up and I don't have the answer to it, I start asking someone that I think might know. It's very simple. So just have a code where you say, well, now, I'll have you go to him.
Yeah, your father.
Yes, and see what he says about what you say is a problem.
Okay.
All right? And then after he says what he says, if he will coordinate with me to give my view of what you're talking about, then I'll give my view.
Okay.
But see, that way you minimize conflict.
Yes, sir.
See,
yes,
go
sir.
to him first and take it to him. See what he says about it. Now, if he gets frustrated and whatnot, and he doesn't know what to say and all like that, and then you can send him to me, send you to me, and then I will give my view of what you're talking about, so that the child will have both persons' views.
Yes, sir.
And you can also add by asking the child a question. What do you think about what we just said?
Okay.
And do you think that will work, or do you think that will solve whatever it is you're talking about? Because usually it's in the form of a problem.
All righty. Okay, Nikki in Atlanta, there is your answer to your question, and thank you for writing in. Let's go to the phone lines. You're now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. By the way, line number 1, you are listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTameRadio.com. Radio the way it should be heard. 1-877-932-9766 is the number. Or Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. Okay, caller, go ahead. Line number 1.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Bobby. Good morning, Mr. Fuller.
Good morning.
I have a comment and a question. What I will say, the comment is, Mr. Fuller, I heard you say ask white people questions because they have information, in particular white people. I have been doing that, and it has been helpful. I have been learning a lot, been getting useful information. My
I hear
question.
some breathing in the mic or something.
Okay, I'll try something different. Does it sound better now?
It sounds, yes. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. My question is, have you read the book 1984 or seen the movie? Because I'm reading the code system, and I see a lot of parallels. One in particular is, two in particular is this idea of double think, and another idea of in the book 1984, the government's main victory is getting people to accept their way of thinking. And it sounds similar to what you say with white supremacy in the refinement stage, getting the victims to accept white supremacy. So I wondered if you were familiar with the book or seen the movie.
George Orwell's 1984?
Yes.
Yes, I saw the movie years ago. And, yes, I took that into consideration. I mean, it's a book that I think that people should read, 1984 by George Orwell. And it did, from what I picked up from it, it vaguely, I didn't understand some things about the movie, but it seems like overall that's what it was saying. But that's true of any government. You know, a government is set up on some type of principles. So naturally, whatever those principles are, whatever the quote unquote government is, it wants people to follow whatever those principles are that government is about. So this is true of just three people in a room, and one person is talking to the other two people and saying, I think we should do this, I think we should do that, I think we should do it this way or that way or the other. That's government. It's all the same thing. It's just a matter of influence. And then it comes down to how that so-called, quote, government is conducted. Now, at some point, if three people are in a room and one person says, well, it's my way or the highway, meaning I'm going to tell you what to do, and you two people, and you better do it, or you are going to be hurt by me. Now, see, so sometimes governments work through that too. I mean, they call that absolute dictatorship, where the other persons don't have any say-so. And that applies to millions of people, or just three people in a room, or two people in a room, and one person dictates to the other. Same thing. Same principles. Mm-hmm. These are not unique. I mean, this is how people interact with each other. Or they can have a quote-unquote government where both people will have some say-so, equal say-so. That's the ideal, where both people sit down and talk, say, now, what's the best way to go about, we're going to do some plowing today. We're going to plow the ground today. Now, since it's just two of us, what's the best way to go about plowing the ground so that both of us benefit from the plowing that we are going to do equally? Or if one person is better at plowing and the other person isn't, and because one person is infirm or something like that, and the other person is very strong, and say, okay, well, how can I help you with the plowing? I mean, if we're going to have a horse, I mean, do you want me to groom the horse, feed the horse, see that the horse can be stronger, so when the horse pulls the plow, it will make it easier on you. So I can see to it that the horse is in excellent health, and that will help you. We'll work it out that way. Yeah. See, that's the way all things should be done.
Asking questions. What is your second question, caller?
Oh, no,
Quickly.
no. So it was just a comment that asking white folks questions because they tend to have information. I found that very helpful.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for calling very, very much.
All righty. Thank you.
Okay. All problems can be solved through questions. Is that correct, Mr. Fuller? Asking
all
questions?
Problems, and that's a universal law. That's not Neely Fuller's law. I mean, that's a universal law. All problems that's ever been solved has been solved through the process of questions and answers.
Okay.
Questions and answers. Questions and answers. Unlimited until the problems are solved.
The problems are solved. Okay. Let's go to line number 2. What is your question or comment? Make it brief for Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Go ahead, please.
Hello, Mr. Fuller.
Hello?
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you speak up a little bit? We're having just a little bit of trouble hearing you. Go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, here's my question, Mr. Fuller. I'm looking at white supremacy like a car battery. You know, if you look at a car battery, you have the positive post and the negative post. And I look at white supremacy as being based on their actions of wanting to cause people to suffer. I look at white supremacy as being the negative side of the battery post. So here's my question. Why would the negative side of the battery post be ruling over the positive side of the battery post? Now, unless the positive side of the battery post is not in its right state of mind. I don't know if you can break that down, but you see what I'm saying. Why is negative ruling over positive?
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Well, by negative, what do you mean by negative? Words are very important, so we get to
well, negative in the sense that when you talk about white supremacy, where you said white supremacy, is the purpose of white supremacy is to go around and to mistreat people, and to me, mistreating people is a negative action. So why is negative ruling over positive? Where every time you have a negative, there's also a positive. Now, it's the positive is not in its right state of mind.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
Because of the energy behind it. The energy, that's the way, in answer to the question, he'll go with questions and answers again. That's the logical answer. Because that side, in other words, if you're talking about people, and we're talking about people, really, it means one person's will is stronger than the other person's to do whatever that person wants done. I'll give the illustration again of two people in a room. If you have two people in a room and one person says, "Well, I think I'm going to paint the walls in this room, and I'm dedicated to painting these walls. I'm getting tired of looking at them, so I'm going to paint them." And the other person says, "Well, I don't think that's a good idea, and so I'm against you painting the walls." But the person who is dedicated to painting the walls just gets buckets of paint and starts painting. And the other person sits there and says, "I told you that I don't want you to paint the walls. I mean, leave them like they are." And the person just keeps painting and keeps painting. And then the walls get painted. And the other person is saying, "I told you I was against that. I'm not in favor of that." And then all the walls are painted, and the person puts the buckets away and all like that, and the walls are painted. Now, what has really happened there? The person who had the will to paint the walls, regardless of the person sitting there watching them painting the walls and telling them that they didn't want the walls painted, but the person who didn't want the walls painted sat there and watched them paint the walls. Duh. And that's the same way with the system of white supremacy, because that's what we're talking about. The people who believed in the system of white supremacy believed that people should be mistreated based on color, went about mistreating people based on color, and the people who were being mistreated sat there and watched them do it. That's exactly what has happened up to now. Now, they voiced it. They voiced their disbelief and their disagreement on it. They said, "Hey, this is not right. Why are you mistreating me based on my color? I mean, that doesn't make sense." Well, it makes sense to me, and I'm going to keep mistreating you based on color because I'm ordained to do this, and the mistreatment is going on right now, and I'm going to continue it, and that's that. And what are you going to do about it? Well, I'm going to tell you about it. Well, I'll listen to you tell me about it, but it's going to continue. Oh. And so that's what we have right now.
Okay.
Worldwide.
Worldwide. Okay. Good answer. Let's go to line number 3. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. How may he help you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I have a problem with my direct supervisor, and so I've tried to use some of the techniques that Mr. Fuller recommends. However, this person does not tell the truth, and she, even writes up documents with things in it that are not true. And in our organization, the culture is so it's almost like the police, where what they're doing is correct, and you're really not supposed to question it. So when they don't give you truthful answers, is there another technique that can be used besides trying to, ask questions? Is there something else that can be done?
Oh, okay. Well, one thing we have to have here is focus. Exactly what is it that is happening? You're saying that you're not getting your questions answered?
Yes.
What questions are you asking? Everything is solved by questions and answers.
Well, she says that I am not performing my duties correctly. And so I'm trying to find out what it is that she wants me to do, or what is incorrect. And she's very inconsistent. The more difficult part of the duties, she'll say, I do excellent, but the simpler ones, I'm not doing well at all. And so, but I can't get her to tell me. And in our what is it? Our the way they have the system set up, the way they have these, they don't really have details. Everything is very vague. And so, but even when she writes it up, she doesn't put any details. It wasn't satisfactory. Okay, well, exactly what's not satisfactory. And the only thing, the last thing she told me was I don't speak fast enough. But, and I said, well, I can work on that, but that's not something I can fix overnight. But I can, but most of the time what she just says things and then she'll say something else later. So since she's not really being truthful, and I just think it's part of an agenda to just pile up documentation so that they can, fire me. But I don't know what to do in the meantime.
Well, you're saying quite a lot here, and I'm not understanding any of it. But the best way to approach anything is you have to have focus and clarity, meaning find out exactly what it is she wants done, how she wants it done, by asking questions. How do you want this done? In what time frame? What's the procedure? And write down what she tells you, because this is what you want to present later on. Get in the habit of writing things down. Say, well, wait a minute, you're talking to me about doing this. I want to write it down. First thing you want me to do is this, and write number 1, write that down. Number 2, write that down. Number 3, write that down. And that way you have focus and clarity, not just a lot of rambling talk. Because, see, it's in that rambling talk where people get mistreated.
Yes.
You don't want people to just go all over the place. Let's be very specific. You want this done. Number 1, this is the first thing you want done. Number 2, and not only that, you want to know how to do it. See, because that's where the problem is. You want to know exactly how to go about doing it, not just somebody walking up and telling you to do something and walking off. That's not correct supervision.
No, that's not. Thank you, caller.
Thank you.
TalkTameItRadio.com. Check us out on WCRS FM 98.3. Wednesday and Sunday evenings. Blogs and podcasts are available. Download TalkTameItRadio.com app to your cell or tablet. We go where you go. Radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We're going to have more of your questions via telephone and email, all on the compensatory concept with Neely Fuller Jr. and co-host Mr. Bobby on TalkTameItRadio.com.
TalkTameItRadio.com is the premier internet radio platform offering 40-plus talk radio-style programs professionally produced, optimized for online distribution, featuring Columbus, Ohio on-air personalities. TalkTameItRadio.com offers listeners diverse programming options covering topics such as arts and culture, love, life and relationships, technology, religion, paranormal activities, local and national politics, women's issues, alongside health and wellness. Listeners can access their favorite TalkTameItRadio.com programs free of cost through the website. Download the TTR app to your cell phone and you can take us wherever you go. We have programs on demand to fit your schedule through our podcast. The address is TalkTameItRadio.com.
If you're looking for quality hair products at affordable prices, then you need to check out Impress Beauty, located at 3608 East Main Street in Whitehall, Ohio. Human hair is buy one, get one free. And I'm talking about Brazilian, Indian, and Malaysian hair. That's right. Buy one, get one free. And they have one of the largest supplies of wigs that I've ever seen at affordable prices. Impress Beauty is located at 3608 East Main Street, right across from Walmart on Main Street in the shopping mall near Deals and Catco. And when you go there, don't forget to check out the new shipment of boots and clothes.
Hey guys, let's play some video games.
This new dad plays video games with his sons, but the challenge feels like he's lifting a metric ton.
So many buttons.
His avatar just stares at the walls, twists and turns and somehow falls.
Help me!
He's tangled up in the controller's cords.
I just don't understand this crazy digital world.
Crazy, crazy digital world. Zeros and ones. But the love from his kids is totally apparent. Ooh. See, you don't have to be perfect to be the perfect parent.
Should have just played catch. You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of siblings in foster care will take you just as you are. For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Sorry, your call cannot be connected due to an emergency. Sorry, your call cannot be connected due to an emergency. Try reaching your family later. Sorry, your call cannot be connected due to an emergency. Try reaching your family later, or next time. Plan ahead.
Make sure you know where to find your family in an emergency. Visit nyc.gov/ReadyNY or call 311. Brought to you by the New York City Office of Emergency Management and the Ad Council.
I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school.
Summer isn't fun when you're hungry.
Give me a math quiz. I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I wish I was in school.
If your child relies on free school lunches, we can help provide them with free meals this summer. Together, we're feeding America.
Contact Food Bank of the Southern Tier at www.foodbankst.org. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
My suit can still make an impression.
And my lamp can bring others a bright future.
Because when I donate my stuff to Goodwill, it helps fund job placement and training for people right in my community.
Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs. Find your nearest donation center at goodwill.org. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dr. Phil here. You know, I help people solve difficult problems every day, but one problem has me stumped: childhood hunger. Nearly 16 million children in America struggle with it. Luckily, the Feeding America network of local food banks collects surplus food, giving hope to hungry children and their families. But they need your help. Join me in supporting Feeding America and your local food bank at feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
The odds of becoming a signed artist and having 4 #1 albums. 1 in 100 million. The odds of going on to win 7 Grammy Awards. 1 in 1.4 million. The odds of this performer having a child diagnosed with autism. 1 in 68. I'm Toni Braxton, and I encourage you to learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Autism Speaks. It's time to listen. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Goodwill is a global social services enterprise and the leading nonprofit provider of job training programs and career services in the United States and Canada. To pay for its program, Goodwill sells donated clothes and other household items in more than 2,700 stores and online at shopgoodwill.com. Goodwill uses the revenue earned from these sales to fund job training, employment placement services, and other community programs. The goal of the campaign is to increase goods donations to Goodwill, inspire an emotional connection to the Goodwill brand, and to elevate preference for Goodwill.
The United Independent Compensatory Code System concept by Neely Fuller is considered as one of the substantial and basic books for understanding and effectively countering racism. Neely Fuller will turn upside down everything you've heard and everything you think you know about racism and how it works. Call area code 202-484-5461. 202-484-5461.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth. I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
Go ahead. Make my day.
You got the power.
Alrighty, welcome back to a second slice of the action. Man, that first slice was so good. We got to go to the second one. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and that is radio the way it should be heard. This is Mr. Bobby, the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and we are answering your questions and reading some of your questions, and Mr. Fuller, will address your questions. Get in contact with the show by calling 1-877-932-9766, or you can Gmail me at mrbobby@gmail.com, and if I have the time, I will read it. We have call on line number 1. Go ahead with your question that you will like Mr. Fuller to address.
Well, I really just want to make a couple of comments, if you allow me.
Okay, comment number 1. Make it briefly.
Oh, brother. Okay, Brother Fuller, I appreciate and I feel you when you talk about how to respond and try to survive in a white supremacy country with their white supremacy police. But I always relate back to something Art Linkletter used to say all the time. He used to say, children do the darnest thing. Yeah. And children will be children. Mm-hmm. Young people will be young people. But should a psychopath on the police force use that opportunity to assassinate that young person? Of course not. Now, when I was growing up in Birmingham in the 60s during the Bull Connor terror campaign, my mama used to take me and my sister downtown, take her out with her. They had a white awning and a colored water fountain. Well, my mama would turn her head to go down another aisle. Me and my younger sister, we would drink out the white-only water fountain because we was young. But should we lose our life for drinking out of that white-only water fountain? So our young people, they shouldn't lose their life because they don't know how to deal with psychopath police, and I'm sure you agree with that. But real quick, bro, Barack Bush talk about combating terrorism across the planet, but he wouldn't even acknowledge terror right here. A psychopath going to church, kill 9 people. He won't even call it terror. And he got the gall to go to the United Nations and talking about fighting terror across the world. What do that mean for us? Doesn't it say our life here have no value? What do that mean?
Okay, brother. Thank you for your comment.
I got some more if you let me.
No, we're up against the time here, but call in next week though. Call in next week.
All
okay.
Right, brother.
All right. Thank you. Barack Bush, huh? I never heard of that one before. Okay, we have another call in. Barack Bush. Okay. Excuse me. Line number 2. You are now on with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. What is your question?
Yes, good morning. I'm Tyreek from the Bronx.
Okay, Tyreek.
My question to Mr. Fuller is, over the course of the next few months leading up to the presidential election, and the campaign and everything that's going into it, what do you see the white supremacists doing? Do you see them implementing more confusion? Do you see them pulling back on the confusion? Do you see more violence? What is your prediction for the foreseeable future?
Okay, thank you, Tyreek. Mr. Fuller?
What do I see the white supremacists doing in the next election? The white supremacists do what they do in all elections or when they ever or in any area of activity, any time of day or night. And that is, how do you make white supremacy stronger and more efficient, more refined? That's what they do. Meaning what? Figure out newer and better ways of mistreating people based on color, and for what purpose? For the purpose of the system of white supremacy, which is what? To mistreat people based on color in order to have fun, glory, and material comfort, material gain. Those are the big three that you get out of the system of white supremacy. That is what it's for. And you do this by mistreating people, assigning a whole category of people that you can mistreat for your convenience. They will do that in an election. They will do that in any area of activity, economics, on a daily basis. Anything that they do in the field of economics is going to be for that purpose. Anything they do in the field of education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war, that is what they are going to do. That's not all white people now. That's just those white people who believe in white supremacy. They know who they are.
They know who
I don't know who they are. I can't tell you who they are because there's so many of them, and they don't identify themselves as being white supremacists.
Yes.
Millions of them will say, oh, I'm not a white supremacist. I'm just going about doing what I do.
You are so correct. Thank you, Brother Tyreek from Brooklyn. Tyreek is one of our weekly callers, and we do thank him. Got a quick comment from Miss LaShonda, representing ICE, Immigration and Customs Enforcement. She says, message for Mr. Fuller, or comment, just ICE. We should only be seeking to establish a just system to replace the existing system. I don't know what she means exactly by just, but I know that Mr. Fuller talks of replacing the system of white supremacy with justice, and he has a compensatory definition, LaShonda. And Mr. Fuller, before we talk about your book, would you give your compensatory definition of justice?
Well, the one that I came up with some years ago is it's in two parts. Guaranteeing that no person is mistreated. That's part one. Part two, guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. And that's underlining the word constructive.
Constructive.
See, a lot of people will claim that they need help. But when you ask them, well, what kind of help do you need? They say, well, I need another fix on PCP. That's not constructive help.
Constructive help.
Right.
Okay.
So it has to be constructive help. That's what you guarantee.
Okay.
You don't guarantee a person that you're going to help them to deteriorate more than they have already deteriorated. It's not constructive. We're trying to be a constructive people.
Constructive.
That word is very important.
Right.
And everything that we do, it should be constructive.
Constructive
The
help.
white supremacists are trying to do everything they can to make us a non-constructive people, and they have succeeded in doing that up to this point because we are not constructive people.
Wow. Okay, you are now listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, Jr. I am the co-host, Mr. Bobby, and you're listening to it on Talktainment Radio, exclusively on Talktainment Radio the way it should be heard. 1-877-932 is the number you can call, or you can Gmail me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com. We have a comment from Mrs. Edward Lewis, or whatever. I can't but anyway, I'll read it. It says, I have two questions that I would like to ask Mr. Fuller, have him address. I understand that you have whites who practice racism supremacy and white people who do not. My first question is, are the white who do not practice white supremacy just as guilty as the other ones who do practice it?
No, they're not just as guilty, but when they stop opposing white supremacists, then they are complicit in continuing the system of white supremacy. So that's a minute-by-minute thing. Anytime the white person is actually in opposition effectively, doing something that's really effective against racism, then that white person is not a white supremacist. The minute that they stop and just start doing what you call this everyday things, they are complicit in the system. That's just the way that works. It's not personal, it's business.
Okay.
That's just exactly the way that works. The very minute that they stop opposing racism, they are back into the racist suspect category.
Okay. And the second part of the question, he says, or she says, is white supremacy white culture?
Is white supremacy white what?
Culture.
Yes. Culture is whatever you do. That's all any culture is. So if you're practicing white supremacy, that's your culture. That's the strongest and dominant culture on this planet as we speak right now. There's no government stronger than the government of white supremacy. And here, I've heard some things on this program this morning. When we start talking about white supremacy, we don't talk about countries. White supremacy is a country. It's a world country. There's no such thing as white supremacist American, or white supremacist German, or white supremacist anything behind that other than white supremacy is racism, and racism is white supremacy. But white supremacists do not believe in countries except the system of white supremacy. That's their country. But they will tell other people that you belong to this country and that country, and you cross this border and that border. The white supremacists do not believe in borders for white supremacists. Borders are for non-white people. Don't come across this border. Why? Because I'm a white supremacist and I say so. I set the borders all over the world, and I change them around when I get ready, just like you would on a jigsaw puzzle. I mean, I just switch jigsaw puzzles, and I say, this is what all you people will do from now on. See, so get away from the habit of identifying white supremacists with any country. Don't say that the white supremacists in this country. White supremacists are not in any country. White supremacists they're a world system. They're an ideology that absolutely just pushes everything else off the board. Other so-called philosophies, governments don't even exist in the mind of the white supremacists and in their practices. And they have made that effective when it comes to all of the people that they classify as non-white. Yes. White supremacists go where they please. Non-white people go where they're allowed to go. And all the evidence shows it.
Okay. You're listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., heard exclusively on TalkTainMenRadio.com. That is radio the way it should be heard. You can get in contact with the show by calling 1-877-932-9766 or by emailing me or gmailing me at 7mrbobby@gmail.com, and I will try to get your message on. Before we go to the next question here, Mr. Fuller, I want to talk about your book just for a minute. It is the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism, which is white supremacy. Everybody should have a copy of this book if you really want to know and understand about racism and white supremacy. Mr. Fuller, how can we get a copy of this book? And are there any other publications that are in the forefront? And what about the people overseas?
Well, I can't do anything about sending the book to the people overseas right now. I'm still working on that. I mean, I'm trying to figure out how I can do it and do it at a minimum cost. In fact, I'm trying to get the cost of the book down for the people here. But when you're just running a one-person operation, you run into a lot of things that cover, that you have to have money for. And so you can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And what will come up on the screen is a brief description of a basic textbook, and then there's a word guide that I say, is an addition to the basic textbook, because I don't believe in writing a whole lot of books. I believe that really they are basically one book, but I couldn't get everything that I had to say in the pages in the basic book, so I had an additional word guide, and it came out to be 2 books. But basically, the word guide is just a continuation of the basic book. But I recommend that people get the basic book first, or if you want to, get both books. Go by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com.
Okay. And we can do that. Okay. Last week I was in a short meeting, a meeting, and one of the things that was brought up, we were talking about rap music and the rappers and the messages that were behind it. But it came out in looking at a documentary concerning Biggie and Tupac, how much the L.A. Police Department was a part of this situation. And as I saw the documentary, it made me wonder about a lot of things, the exposure of the race soldiers and the things that they did in the police department. And it made me think about the O.J. Simpson case, where Johnny Cochran indicated that there was evidence planted to convict O.J., but Johnny Cochran, in his brilliancy, got O.J. off. I was quite disturbed about some of the things that I saw that a police department who is committed to protect and serve, and the kind of dirty tricks that they did, and the mindset, to me, it brought to reason why a lot of black folk do not trust the police department. And then I came to the conclusion, this is me, that I believe that Johnny Cochran was actually murdered. It made it seem to look like it was something else, and that was based on the tricks that I have seen that the Los Angeles Police Department, did. And it was again a documentary concerning the death of Biggie and Tupac, and how and what the LA Police Department did in terms of getting the mindset of the people to think that it was actually a East Coast, West Coast beef, when in fact it really wasn't. And I was wondering, Mr. Fuller, you said that when police stop you, you should yes, sir, and no, sir, and address them. But with all the things that have happened with the police departments all around the country, with race soldiers being in there, how does one address that with this knowledge, knowing that you could be innocent of something, but because of the dirty tricks that a lot of these race soldiers do in the name of protect and serve in with these police departments, how can we effectively deal with that, knowing that going in?
You always support the concept of police, okay? Get that straight first. And the practice of police work. Stop saying, using words. Words are very important. You don't accuse police of doing anything incorrect. But you do say that there are people who are pretending to be police, and you give them a name, suspected race soldiers. If it's anything that's racial, and most things are. So you say suspected race soldiers. And these are people who are pretending to be law enforcement officers, police officers, but they're really not. They're white supremacists, pretending to be. So you don't get those two mixed up. You separate those two with a heavy line between the two. They're nowhere near each other. A police officer is a person that's always going to do the correct thing. Otherwise, that is not a police officer. That is not a police officer. That's an imposter. A police officer always does the correct thing. But you have a huge number of race soldiers who are pretending to be police officers. These are white men or white women who are pretending to be police officers. And so, you're in a war. You're in a war that's been fostered by all of the people on the planet who believe in white supremacy. And you have become victims of those. So, when you're approached, I still say the best procedure that you can use at that time, see, I'm talking about a time frame now, like being pulled over. That's when a lot of things happen, when you're driving a vehicle or when you're stopped on the street.
Mm-hmm.
The three things, I stick with it because this is what I do myself. I don't recommend anything that I wouldn't do myself. And that is, and I have found that it works for me because I sorted out later on if there's anything to sort out. But you don't argue, you don't fight, and you don't flee. You are making a huge mistake when you do any one of those three things because a race soldier anticipates that that's what you're going to do.
Yes, sir.
They already figure that that's what you're going to do. They are the master psychologists. They already know how to work on your mind. What you stopping me for? I mean, I ain't done nothing. I mean, that's what I say about you people, blah, blah. All right, you're arguing. That's arguing, okay? Don't do that. Don't be tempted to do that. You're not in a kindergarten situation. You are in a situation where you're fixing to die. That's what's going to happen. Get that in your mind. I mean, all of that woof, 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 you're fixing to die.
Yeah, I mean, it is
Don't
potential.
Kid around. You are a captured enemy in enemy territory. Think of yourself as that. You're surrounded.
Yeah.
And you've been caught napping.
Yeah, I don't have any problem with that, but in the documentary, I saw and heard a policeman who was there and who was investigating the death. He was told that he couldn't go any further by his higher ups. Now, this was a police officer who was sworn to protect and serve, and then when he tried to go any further in that, he couldn't. He gave examples of evidence and things that were planted, and how some of these police soldiers or suspected race soldiers were in the employ of some of these so-called rappers or gangsters. He came out and showed it in the documentary how corrupt they are. That's kind of hard for a black man or a black person to be accosted by a police officer.
Yes, I'm going to address that. You don't do anything, first of all, to attract the attention. You have to be like a soldier on a battlefield. If you're a soldier on a battlefield, because that's where you are, we are all on a battlefield. We are on a battlefield. We're not in La La Land. This is not Oz. This is not Shangri-La. We are on a battlefield. And when you look up and you see anybody who might be a suspected race soldier, even 6 blocks away, have your antenna up to not attract attention, just like you would on a battlefield. You're wearing a uniform. Your uniform is your black skin. And you're not going to attract the attention of a sniper. I mean, there's an enemy soldier over there in the bushes somewhere waiting on somebody like you to come along. Look at it just that way.
Yes.
Don't do anything to attract attention, because that sniper is going to do what a sniper does. If anybody's been in the Army or seen movies about the Army, a sniper does what a sniper does. He takes your head off.
Yes.
No question. So you got to think like that. You are walking down the street with your black skin, you might attract the attention of a sniper.
Yes.
Think that way, 24/7, all your life.
Wow. As Kahari would say, that's deep. All righty. Thank you, callers. Thank you, Mr. Fuller. Thank everybody for listening. we'll try to do better next time. Talktainmentradio.com, the world's greatest radio. That is radio the way it should be heard. We will see you next week.
Thanks for listening to The Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why.